So I never got a chance to talk about this. I think it's been about a week now. Hold on. It's been a little over a week, 8 days ago actually, since the Zootopia, the full Zootopia 2 trailer hit the internet, hit YouTube. And it also was the same day that the GOAT trailer, the Stephen Curry one from Sony Pictures, hit. But speaking of the Zootopia 2, because that's mainly what this is about, I gave my thoughts when they did that little small teaser trailer and everything for it about a couple months before. And, I gave my thoughts on what I think is potentially going to happen, some funny moments we might get and everything. And I still stick by that entirely. I still stick by that entirely. But based on what we got with the trailer here, it feels like, and everybody's been saying this, it feels like it's going to be very, very focused on the partnership slash relationship of Judy and Nick. And what this kind of is alluding to me is, these two are going to probably end up together. That's what this film. That's the feeling I get from this. That's the feeling I get from this. That by the end of this film, they're not only still going to be partners, but they're going to be closer than just like partners, best friends, and all that. It's basically going to be the start of a full-on relationship between the two. And the reason I say that is because when you look at the Zootopia franchise as a whole, in story and in context, it's about certain interspecies relationships potentially happening, if you know what I mean. Certain interspecies relationships happening, not just from a partner's perspective, and like in the Zootopia police force, but outside of it. And I think that's exactly what we're heading towards with Judy and Nick. I know some people might say, well, it feels like they're taking elements from a certain webcomic that came out a little after the movie and everything, where Nick and Judy were in a relationship, and Judy was going to have a kid and all that, or was going to have a kid. Yeah, that's basically what it is. The webcomic was Judy was going to have a kid. Nick was happy about it, but Judy didn't want the kid because she felt she wasn't ready, and so on and so forth. And some people feel like there are some elements basically that may have been taken from that. Not entirely sure if that's true. We'll have to see. We'll have to see when the movie comes out whether or not there was some inspired elements taken. But again, the feeling I get from it is we're going to get Nick and Judy starting a relationship together. That's not just going to strengthen their partnership on the police force, but it's also going to, I guess you could say, break some barriers and show that, hey, even a prey and a predator can get together, without any circumstance. And again, I think that's going to break some barriers in the story to where you're going to see some prey and predators that you wouldn't think would get together as a couple, end up doing so, and it's going to be the result of the Nick and Judy thing. Again, that's just the feeling I get. It's just the feeling I get here and everything. So I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but a lot of people, and I have to agree with it. Like I said earlier, a lot of people that viewed the trailer feel that this is going to be the main premise outside of like the story plot with the snake and who the villain is and what's going on there. That this partnership between the two is, this partnership evolving into a relationship, and if that's something more, is going to be the focus. It's going to be the focal point. And, again, I feel like the reason it's going to be that focal point is if they go the direction I said they're going to go in, or I feel they can go in, or will go in, I should say. If they're going to go in that direction, then, again, in story and in context, that opens the door. That opens the door for other interspecies prey and predator relationships, to come to fruition, and all that. I mean, we have Gazelle. We have Gazelle voiced once again by Shakira, and we have that Clausen character. Who's to say they won't try to put Clausen with her? Like, hey, there's something you wouldn't see happening, and it could be all because of Judy and Nick getting together. I like it, but like I said, I'm not saying that's entirely going to happen. I'm not saying it will happen, but just the premise, that we're seeing based off the trailer, just the premise there. I feel like that's going to be the direction that we get. I feel like that's going to be the result, we get when it's all said and done. Now, why do I believe this could happen? Well, when you think about it, this kind of is going down that formula. It's going down that formulaic route. It's going down that formulaic route to where you have, and because we've seen this in a lot of classic sitcoms and movies as well, to where you have, a male and a female partner together, and basically for a time, the duration of the show or for the duration of the movie franchise, they're still as partners, but slowly but surely they're starting to become more and everything, and it feels like it's following that formulaic, that formulaic direction, with the focus being, with the primary focus, like I said, outside of the plot and everything, being on Judy and Nick's relationship. It feels like it's going in that direction. It feels like it's building to them not only strengthening the partnership, as partners on the police force, but it's going to make them become more than just what they are. And I feel that's going to definitely help the franchise should they decide to do more Zootopia movies, maybe do another Zootopia Plus series down the line, or at least another season of it. I could see that happening, and I could see that happening and really just helping to build upon, like I said, the potential that comes out of it. Like, again, you could see more interspecies prey and predator relationships happen. You could see that. And like I said, you look at all these other formulaic, situations that are very similar, from classic television, modern television, to classic movie franchises, modern movie franchises that follow that same formulaic route. It just to me gives off those vibes. It just really does give off those vibes that Judy and Nick are going to end up as a couple by the time this movie's over, and then you can build upon that going forward with future Zootopia movies and potential spin-off series on Disney Plus and so on. But like I said, I could be totally wrong about it. I could be totally wrong, They could just, still remain best friends, and everything. It's, the partnership could become stronger than what it is. And, as I said in the previous one, where I talked about the teaser, that first trailer they put out, that little montage trailer of, what the movie's going to be about, I feel like, basically we could get something to where Judy and Nick, learn from each other, learn to work off each other, learn how to utilize each other's strengths, to their advantage. To their advantage. Like, Nick's still kind of that hustler kind of guy, and everything. He still, still has that mindset of he's a hustler. He does things not so on the straight and narrow, but on the low brow. So I could see, him and Judy learning off each other. Judy learning, hey, I did this once, hustling, getting that information from Maryland or something. The villain is from the last movie. We could see Judy being like, what? There is something here that can help us. Maybe I can do that here. And Nick could also learn from Judy. Hey, sometimes doing things on the up and up does work. Or going and doing it this way or that way does work. So I think they're going to learn. They're going to play off each other and learn from each other of how to utilize each other's strengths to their advantage in the situation. That's one thing I see happening, most definitely. And I still see a situation. I still see a situation to where, just to maybe get some information from whoever the villain or villains are in this film, I can see Judy allowing herself to be swallowed by Gary, whole, not totally eaten, but swallowed whole, to help him get into the good graces of whoever the villain is, or and then probably get some information, as to what's going on, and then after he leaves, he just spits her out. So I could see that. I could see that being a possibility, be a bit funny, if you will. And I know people that have the vor fetish would be, happy that would happen. But we'll see what they do. But again, going back to what I said, I feel the main premise, or one of the main premises outside of the plot and and what's going on with Gary the Snake and who the villains are and all that, I feel that the main premise, and I do apologize for that if you heard anything in the background. I do feel that the main premise outside of, like I said, who the villain is, who the situation going on with Gary the Snake, what the main plot and mystery is going on that Nick and Judy have to solve. I feel that the main premise is going to be focused on Judy and Nick's relationship, not just as partners, but it's going to cause that relationship as partners to develop into something more, into them being more than just partners and best friends. I could see them becoming boyfriend and girlfriend, basically a couple. And I feel that what that's going to do from a storyline perspective is it's going to, storyline context perspective, it's going to break down that barrier to where it's not going to matter whether you're a prey or a predator, whether you're this species or that species. If you truly care about each other, if you truly love each other, then that's all that matters. And if you're there for each other, that's all that matters. So I think that's going to be what we get, I think that's probably going to be what we get out of this, with this movie. I think that's what we're going to get out of it. And again, potential-wise, it could really help build upon what they want to do in future Zootopia movies, as well as potential Zootopia spin-off shows on Disney Plus, and maybe another season of Zootopia, if you will, Plus series, if you will. So, but yeah, that's just my thoughts on it, guys. That's just my thoughts on what I think, is going to happen with this trailer. That's kind of what I get out of this trailer and all that. But let me know what your thoughts are. Comment down below, like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere outside of YouTube, as well as click on the link at the bottom to go to my Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. But guys, give me your thoughts. Do you agree with what I've had to say here? Love to hear your thoughts overall. And until then, I'm out.